It was a gloomy day at Knapford Station. Duck was back to shunting for the big engines while they waited for Sir Topham Hatt to come back from his vacation. They had decided to close off the scrapyard until his return so that he could decide what would be done. Duck had just finished bringing the express coaches to the platform when he saw Percy, who had come to fetch Annie and Clarabel. "Hello, Percy. Good one with the mail last night?" "Huh, no," huffed Percy groggily. "I had to take old vans from the yard, and they caused so much trouble that I was 10 minutes late to the post office to meet Thomas and Harold, and they made fun of me. Bother those trucks." "I know how you feel," sighed Duck. Both had had numerous problems with the troublesome trucks before. It's a good thing Sir Topham Hatt's due to return tomorrow. Things are starting to fall apart without him. Imagine if the trucks were in charge. "Imagine!" gasped Percy. "I couldn't. What a horrible mess that would be. We'd be out of work in a day." Percy said goodbye to Duck and left with Annie and Clarabel. He was unsettled by the thought of a freight car being the controller of the railway. "Just imagine," he muttered to himself. "Just imagine." He was still shaken when he got back to Thomas's branch line. Thomas was waiting for him at the platform. "Where have you been, lazy wheels? I haven't got all day, you know." "Sorry, I was distracted," Percy said absent-mindedly. "Distracted?" demanded Thomas. "With what?" "The truck's taking over the railway, and Sir Topham Hatt's coming back soon." "The trucks are what?" laughed Thomas, but Percy had already slunk away to the shed. Thomas thought it was funny, but the thought intrigued him. Imagine the chaos, he thought to himself. It had been a long day, and Thomas had shunted many trains for other engines after he had finished his branch line run. That night, he was still thinking about it when Percy was leaving the sheds for mail. Happy to finally be back home, he quickly fell asleep as he hit the buffers. The next day, Thomas was at the freight yards. It was in complete disorder, and the troublesome trucks were not cooperating. Trains of coal, ballast, and mixed goods were in all the wrong places. Even the breakdown train was blocked off by the freight cars. "Who's this dirty engine?" said the trucks. "We don't want you here. Go get Oliver instead." "I won't," exclaimed Thomas indignantly. "Who are you to order me about? I oughta—" But he was cut off by a whistle. "Sorry," panted Oliver. "Here I am. Which of you am I to take?" Thought Scruffy. "Me, Fred, and, that empty one over there." "Can I take Toad?" "I suppose so. Thomas can shunt a train together. Be quick about it now." Thomas was in shock. It took him a few seconds to process what Scruffy had said. "Psst, Thomas," whispered Oliver. "That's your cue." "What? I'm not doing that. Edward's cattle train is due to be shunted first." Thomas was shocked and upset. "Don't talk back," snapped Scruffy. Suddenly, Thomas began to find his wheels moving on their own. "What's happening?" he cried. Thomas was forced to shunt all of Oliver's trucks in order, and it wasn't until the job was complete that he was returned control of himself. "How horrible," Thomas groaned to himself as the trucks laughed and laughed. Oliver puffed goodbye, and Thomas was better behaved for the rest of the day, doing only as he was instructed, no matter how strange. He shunted coal for Knapford Station, fuel for the scrapyard, and coaches for the crossing. He went home to the sheds very tired that night. He was too tired to notice that the sheds were empty. The next day he came back to the yard. To his surprise, he saw a completely different layout. Scruffy addressed the gallery. "I've gathered you all here today to announce some administrative changes." The engines murmured nervously to each other. "Hey, shut up! I'm trying to talk. As I was saying, we're gonna perform some renovations on most of the island. All bridge supports will be removed immediately.
This operation will be run by the diesels. Any attempt to resist will be met with force. Any questions? Yeah, who cares? Let's start the montage.
The what?
What? What happened? Scruffy? Hello? It's just me, Thomas, laughed his driver. We've got to get going. Edward will be expecting his trucks. Then we've got to get the sheds ready for Sir Topham Hatt's return. Oh, yes, sighed Thomas with relief. It will be good to have him back. The day had an air of excitement as the engines did their work. They were all eagerly anticipating the return of their fat controller. That evening, as Thomas pulled into the shed, the engines heard a horn, and all grew quiet. There, in Bertie the Bus, was Sir Topham Hatt. As he stepped out, he was immediately met with a deafening cacophony of jovial whistling. He held his ears and called for silence. I appreciate all your kind sentiments, he said, addressing the sheds, but I am afraid we've no time to celebrate. Henry, you've the flying kipper to collect. And Thomas? What are you doing here? Percy will be needing your help with the mail. Those old cars are sure to give him trouble. Yes, sir, said Thomas, grinning to himself as he went onto the turntable. It's good to have you back, sir. Thank you, Thomas, replied Sir Topham Hatt. It's good to be back. And so, work as normal resumed and order was restored. The scrapyard was left to the diesels of the other railway, and Duck was sent back to his line with Oliver. Trains ran right on schedule, and goods ran smoothly and without fuss from the trucks. Whatever the weather, whatever the job, and whatever the engine, they are all really proud to work on the Fat Controller's Railway.